Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Tree, a card game for 2 to 3 players for ages 8 and up, with the average play time being between 15 and 30 minutes. Now the idea behind this game is extremely simple. Grow trees, earn victory points, and the player that can earn so many victory points first will win the game. Obviously there's a little bit more to it than that. It wouldn't be much of a game if that's all it was. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Alright, so as far as your components are concerned, you've got two main decks here. One is larger than the other. The main draw deck consists of 3 different card types. The white cards are your treetop cards. They range between 1 and 5 in terms of point value. The black cards here are your root cards. They range between 1 and 4. And then you've got these dead cards over here of varying values. Basically, they are used to kill trees. I'll explain that a little bit later. You've also got this firewood deck here. Now, each card in this deck is worth 2 points. Basically, these are sort of like bonus cards that players can earn in order to gain extra victory points in order to win the game. Alright, now there is one other card that I neglected to show you in the last shot. It's called the Golden Spade card. It can be found in this main deck here. There's only one of this card, so it's pretty rare. But basically, players can use this card in order to remove dead trees that are in front of them. Again, I'll explain that a little bit later. As far as game setup, what you'll want to do is take the entire deck of cards here, minus the firewood cards, shuffle them up, and then you'll deal 3 to each player. You'll also start a discard pile here by flipping the top card face up. The firewood deck is just simply placed nearby. Alright, now just to quickly illustrate what a player can do on their turn, I set up sort of like an example. This is not actual gameplay, mind you. At the beginning of a player's turn, what they'll do is they'll take either the top card from the discard pile or the top card from the draw deck, and they'll add it to their hand like so. After that, they'll have a decision to make, whether or not to play cards or not to play cards. If they choose not to play cards, they have to discard a card from their hand and put it into the discard pile. If they do decide to play cards, they can play as many cards as they want to. Alright, so how do you play cards, and why am I playing cards? Well, in front of you are 3 trees, okay? And you can have at most 3 trees in front of you. In order to start a tree, you have to play one of these 1 seedling cards. Again, these are your root cards, and above them are your treetop cards. Now, there are some special rules. Whenever you play a card, you play it on top of the existing one, but it has to go in sequential order. So, on this 1, I'd have to play a black 2. Then I'd have to play a black 3 on top of that. Then a black 4 on top of that one. The other special rule is that both of these cards here have to be within 1 level of one another. This one is a 2, and this one is a 3. That is okay. It started as a 1 at one point, and then I guess sometime in the past, this player put a 1 down, put a 2 on top of it, and then put a 3 on top of it. That would be okay. The player could not play, say, this 3 on top of this 1 because there is no 2 there yet. So let's say on a future turn he puts a 2 down, and then on a future turn he wants to put this 3 down. Well, he can't do it yet because this is still a 1 down here. This needs to be raised to a 2 before this 3 can be put on top of this like so. In addition to playing treetop cards and root cards, a player can play as many cards as they want on their turn. They can play these attack cards, and you have to follow the instructions on the card. Use versus 1, use versus 3 or 4, or use versus 3 or 4, but this is a special card. It allows you to collect firewood whenever you play this on your opponent. Speaking of which, these dead cards you'll want to play on your opponent because that kills their trees, essentially. Players earn victory points by having these trees out in front of them. This is 3 points, this is 3 points, 2, 2, and 1. And the object is to accumulate so much so that you win the game. Well, in order to slow up your opponent, you can play these cards on top of their treetop cards. But you have to follow the instructions. Use versus 1. These are both 3s, so I can't use this one against either of those. However, I could, this one says use versus 3 or 4. So I could play this card on top of this one, thereby killing the tree. As a reward for playing this particular card, attacking player collects one firewood. So the player could draw one firewood card, the attacker that is, in order to put it next to them, and that would count as victory points so that they can win the game. Other cards don't have that special feature. For example, this one says use versus 3 or 4, but it says this tree has been burned, whereas this tree has been harvested. So again, you want to pay attention to your attack cards to see what you can do with them. If you happen to have the golden spade in your hand and you want to use it, what you'll do is you'll simply play it on top of one of your dead trees. It does take up space, and this will uproot the entire tree and essentially remove it from the game, including the golden spade card, so no one can use it again after that. Now, the advantage to doing that is that it'll free up an additional slot so that you can start earning some more victory points. Once you've played all the cards you can, you'll just simply draw back up to 3 cards. Very simple. And the object of the game is to earn so many victory points. In a 2-player game, I believe you have to reach 15 victory points. In a 3-player game, you have to get 10 victory points. Alright, and there you have it, a very brief look at Tree. It's important to note that I did not cover all of the rules found in the manual. This was just a quick overview to give you an idea of what you're in for should you decide to pick up this game. As far as what I thought, I think the art is fantastic, honestly. My only semi-complaint has to do with the size of the cards. These aren't your typical playing cards. These are like tarot cards. Shuffling them can be a little tedious. I have to shuffle them long ways instead of this way. It's easier that way. On the plus side, the cards are easier to read. So if you have bad eyesight like I do, then the bigger cards will come in handy. My other concern was the price tag. On the Game Crafter, it's advertised for $25. Most card games in my collection retail for between $10 and $15. So I think the price is a little steep based on what the game is offering here. Star Realms, for example, is $15, and it has a little bit more in-depth gameplay and has more cards to boot. So I think if the price were lower, I think you'd see more of a demand for it on the market. But as it stands right now, I mean, it's still a good card game, don't get me wrong, but I think the price may be a little high for some people, in my opinion. But if money doesn't concern you, it does probably to most people, but if it doesn't concern you, then go ahead and pick this up because it is a pretty fun game, and it is family friendly. And it's also pretty moddable too. You can remove attack cards from the deck if you just want to encourage growing trees as opposed to destroying trees. Oh, by the way, one rule I didn't mention, if you have 3 dead trees in front of you, you are automatically eliminated from the game. So if you don't want that to happen and you want to encourage some friendly play, remove some of these attack cards from the deck. And you can also play to more points in order to lengthen the game. Say 20 points, 25, something like that. So, with that being said, if you guys want to see more gameplay, let me know. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my official website, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.